again, everybody. Welcome to Cullen Loose and Frenemies of the People. Talking about the media, talking about politics. I was talking to myself earlier this week, but now I've got my snarky and super intelligent colleagues, Eleni and Natalie, to join producer Grace in trying to really dissect and analyze the events of the day. So I guess I want to start with the fact that there are indeed two people named Kat running for public office in the upcoming elections. I'm not sure if that's ever happened before.
Especially spelled with a K, not a C.
There's a cat with a C and a cat with a K.
Mm-hmm.
One is running for county commissioner, is that right? And the
So,
other is running for
nice.
Ninth congressional.
ninth
Mhm.
congressional up on the far north side. So there are two cats, but what they both have in common is that they were trying to protest ICE. Uh, Coincidentally, there were TV cameras there. I'm sure that's just a total coincidence. Anyway, they had to show up in court to deal with some obstructionish type charges from the federal government over that. But I just in case you thought you were hearing things or saying things, there are two cats, cat with a K and cat with a C, and they're running for different offices, and they were in court.
Well,
Go ahead.
and Cat with a K is one of what, like 300 people running in the ninth?
All of whom have been down to Broadview to protest.
Yes, there are multiple cameras covering that race specifically for multiple candidates.
Um, Cat with a has a rather large social media following, and that appears
Yeah.
to be her biggest accomplishment to date. Perhaps she was even out there at the vanguard before the new mayor-elect of New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine it appears that they share a number of political views. We've been talking in the last few episodes about how that all plays out for Mayor Johnson in Chicago, and it seems to me that the more he's forced to defend far left progressive political ideas like taxing businesses, the more he can try to organize that unruly coalition of far left people to sort of take the best of the Mount New York campaign.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see what the mom campaign promises are that get or attempt to get delivered on, and just how that is going to dictate what's going to happen here. I think with our race for mayor, that's not till 2027, and I think what's interesting is what is happening in New York going to go so far left that our mayor here in Chicago might actually, it might help him look more to the middle. And it's interesting. It's going to be very interesting to track the effects of New York in our Chicago mayoral race that's coming up, that we also have 400 people potentially running in.
Well, that's the
The
issue,
mayor
right? I
may
mean, it
need
all
to.
depends on who gets who throws their hat in the ring to go up against Johnson. Because last time, and I think Dennis, you've made this point a number of times. I think the mayor, in spite of his, dismally low poll numbers, we've seen a lift because of all the, free camera and FaceTime he's gotten as a result of fighting Trump and the troops in town. And that only, bolsters his base. But, does it help him by having, the circus of people come in if he doesn't have sort of a rational counterpart, which unfortunately in the last cycle he didn't, as we found out, too far close to the end of the cycle. But I think you look at, I think the spectrum is New York versus San Francisco. In San Francisco, you had the pushback against the progressive politics because campaigning is very different than governing. We learned that with Lori Lightfoot. We're learning that with Brandon Johnson. San Francisco, they voted out their very progressive district attorney. We've seen that here with Eileen O'Neill. And then their now mayor is, albeit very wealthy, more conservative Democrat, more business aligned. And so I think it all comes down to, Eleni, is what you said, the promises that Mamdani made on the stump. Can he bring those to fruition? We've seen what happens when a progressive candidate in Chicago can't do that. But I think it all depends on whether or not, who gets in the race to run against Brandon the next time.
You made a little reference to the fact that it seems to be working for the mayor. I've only heard anecdotally. I don't know if either of you have gotten more intel on polling, but I am told that the mayor's numbers have gone up since he's taken on this budget process and used it to, as he's talked about, stand up for his values, which means some, important far left issues that play more to his very progressive base.
I don't know if I haven't seen anything recently pertaining to the budget itself. But certainly over the course of the summer where Trump was turning his targets to Chicago, and you had all of those stand-ups with all of the electeds coming out and standing before Trump Tower and all this. I think that airtime is where it began, and so he's probably riding a wave right now. And again, it remains to be seen how he's going to get this budget over the finish line before the end of the year, because the head tax seems like it's in peril, which I don't think shocks anybody.
Well, the mayor may have low poll numbers, whether you believe his polls or other pollsters. It's probably not great, but if you have a crowded car, and I'm not going to disparage what sort of car that might be, but a crowded car of candidates, he might only need 20% to get to that final round. And one thing I learned early in politics is that once you have an opponent, it's a different ballgame, and you can define the other side. And I think we've seen that play out a lot in national politics, Eleni.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think who the business community ultimately rallies behind in this upcoming mayoral election is going to dictate what kind of race we're going to have. And like I said, I also think what happens in New York and in these next even 12 months is likely going to dictate what Mayor Johnson's progressive image is going to be going into the 2027. I mean, 2027 cycle is small, but you know what I mean.
I think the key that you said though is if the business community actually gets behind a single candidate. I think we've seen in the last couple of cycles everybody has a different horse that they want to pick, and there's always this failure of the major business and civic leaders in the city to get organized, which is kind of hilarious.
And seems to be what the landscape is at the moment. Perhaps that will change. The business community doesn't really vote, but they finance.
Mm-hmm.
As Senator Songa said once, money is the mother's milk of politics.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the head tax that Natalie mentioned a little bit earlier, so the mayor has proposed a $21 per employee tax on, at the time, Chicago employers with more than 100 employees, which is a not insignificant amount of money to these businesses. $7,500, $150,000, every year. It is of symbolic value to the business community and to the Chicago Tribune editorial board, who seem to have written more editorials on the head tax than anything else that I have seen in recent weeks. And they quoted a number of folks from the Civic Committee of the Commercial Club Civic Committee, of course, represents some of the biggest employers in Chicago and is sort of the arm that gets involved in public affairs issues. And they told the Tribune, quote, "There is no more offensive tax to a company than a job tax. It's baffling that a mayor of a city would do this." And then this was from the president, Derek Douglas. He says that, quote, "Our CEOs get calls weekly from mayors and governors trying to recruit them." So, this is a rare thing, according to the Tribune. And those calls will probably continue as the various taxes go up. I heard such a sentiment with a lawyer from New York, of all places, the other day. But what do you all think? What's your take on that, Eleni?
I mean, I think to me, it's not surprising that this administration is proposing such taxes. I mean, we've kind of seen it before in other types, and I think this is a little bit of how they believe the budgeting process should work. And so to me, I wasn't as much surprised in learning about it. I'm just more perplexed as to Natalie's point earlier, like, how are they going to get this budget over the finish line at the end of the day? And it seems like the budgeting process for this administration is just continuously getting worse. And again, it's about having the right people in the right positions. And you can't just be expecting to jam your agenda down the throats of city council. And if you're not willing to compromise and negotiate and come to some sort of agreement on some of these issues, it's only going to get more and more hostile. And, this is where they should take into consideration, they meaning the administration and ultimately the governor and his senior team, the mayor and his senior team. What's this going to do to your 2027 race? And how is this going to turn into negative ads? I mean, the budgeting process, we see it from the state perspective, even down to local, hyper-local, city governments. That is a big hit that people take on how they budget. And I think that we'll see that play into this next race, but also just how are they going to do this year?
Gone are the days of a 50-0 city budget, for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah, the problem you're saying is that there is at least a sizable minority of the city council that wants to show employers and business that they're fighting for them, at least to some extent. And many of these boards have a lot of entrepreneurs, and those are the folks that really, where the rubber really meets the road, right? But they come back with ideas that are just as problematic, taxes on Amazon deliveries and Uber deliveries, and the old saying, "Don't tax me, don't tax you, tax the man behind the tree." So, Natalie, you have any solutions for Mayor Johnson you'd like to offer for free here on the podcast?
I mean, how much time do you have?
We have kind of unlimited, but I think our viewers have limits.
Yeah, it's probably better if I keep it to myself.
So let's do a couple quick hits of things that are going on. I don't think it's any surprise that Governor Pritzker is, mindfully selecting his appearances as he continues to try to look like presidential timber, even while he's trying to get reelected as governor, and has had some moments recently where he has, I think, tried to find that fine line when there were angry protests outside the immigration center in Broadview. He did send the state police out to kind of keep it orderly, that didn't go over well with Alderman Byron Sichko Lopez, who's not even from there. He's a Chicago alderman, a far left alderman. He's considering running as an independent for Congress. We'll get to that in a second. But he decided, as part of his strategy to raise his profile, I guess, either that or he lost his mind, to ambush the governor at a public appearance. And a number of interesting things that he blasted him over. We'll try to include, if we can figure out a way to do it, Producer Grace, I'm springing this on you, maybe a little soundbite of that. But essentially tried to say that his fighting back against protesters is more evidence that we need to tax the rich. It was a little bit of a leap.
The heated exchange, first with Governor Pritzker and then fellow Alderman Michael Rodriguez. Watch.
I agree. You know that I've worked very hard to get that passed when I first got elected.
We got to take questions from the press here, sir. I'm sorry.
Either of you see anything about that exchange?
I caught it. I loved it. I thought I'm always about the political theater, the street theater, as we call it. I think, that moment likely worked out well for both of them. For Alderman Chico Lopez, that's his base is going to love to see that. He's going to love to see him confronting the, governor, billionaire governor, as they're calling him. While the governor's base, and I think many moderate individuals in the state are going to love seeing that he's standing up to the far left, saying, "Hey, they were there." I believe what the governor was telling him was they were there to protect the protesters. That's why I sent them there, not to arrest them. And if they were arrested, it was because they were likely breaking the law. And so, I think A+ on the political theater for both sides of that fight.
Yeah, you're right. And it seems as though the governor was forced to think quick on his feet there, and perhaps as many strolls along the lakefront and the 606 have helped that agility. He seemed to have pivoted rather quickly and adroitly, Natalie.
He handled it well. Stayed calm, engaged for a little bit, and then just moved along and went to take the questions. And I will note that the alder whose ward this was actually in was shouting at Byron to quiet himself. So lots of good theater.
So Alderman BSL is running or considering to run as an independent in the 4th congressional race, which has suddenly become contested because Congressman Chuy Garcia pulled sort of an old Daily Machine move and bailed after the petitions are in, and cited some family issues. And lo and behold, his chief of staff is ready to run in his stead, and that is not going over well on the left.
I am astounded at how deep the schism is in the Democratic Party right now. I won't say never, but wow, I can't recall when I've seen this type of infighting occur with the attacks on Congressman Garcia for how he went about this. We'll leave that to question. I know he had a lot of personal considerations that went into that decision. I don't know if they all have had to be decided the day that petitions were due, but all that to be said, this isn't something we've not seen before happen. And just the amount of criticism and attacks that he is facing, not from the Republican Party, is in my opinion, and in my years of doing this, kind of incredible to see this right now.
It's like Groundhog Day for you with your party now, looking at it through the lens of the Dems.
Yes.
Does this look familiar?
It really is surprising to me.
I mean, listen, put that debate aside. I think it's just really more for efficiency's sake because you've got Patty Garcia and you just have to cross
Yeah,
out
right.
Chewy's
Oh,
name
yeah.
right in
It's
Patty.
good for the environment.
Very logical.
Right. Speaking of logical and efficient, Governor Pritzker also popped in at a Chicago-based live broadcast of the Pivot podcast, and there's been a little bit of stirring and chattering about that among the political class in Chicago and Illinois. But I was struck by one issue that he raised. He called cell phones, quote, the biggest danger to young people in this country, and says he plans to try again in the next legislative session to ban them in schools. Just
I was
knowing,
the same comment.
yeah,
I agree. I mean, as a mom of two little boys who like cannot get off their screens, and we're constantly coming up with strategies to try to strike the right balance, agree that they're a scourge on our society. We need to limit them. We need to limit the access. Like Instagram just now coming up with teen filters and security protocols, like what's a decade too late. But my first thought, unfortunately, because when I see my kids leave to go to school every morning, I
Exactly.
wonder if it's the last time I'm going to see them because the biggest threat to our children are guns in this society. So cell phones, yes, very, very bad. What's worse? Guns that can get into schools.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say the same thing. I can't imagine when my kids are older and they're able to even just go somewhere by themselves, like walk to a friend's house or go somewhere, and them not having a way for me to communicate with them. And I want to communicate with them. I want to give them a phone, but are they then going to go on Instagram and get bullied? Or are they going to bully someone? Like there's so many things that you have to take into consideration, but I would agree with you that physical safety is the number one. And the fact that, and I'll share with you guys an ad later, but there was a gun violence ad about school violence that was running in some states recently that, the child was on the phone with a mom, like hiding in the bathroom.
Right.
And
Right.
you're just like,
Right.
oh my God. So but it is, to your point, Dennis, like it's an interesting agenda item, given all the agenda items that continue to fight for first place. And I'm not suggesting that's his first agenda item, but it is interesting that it makes the top of the list.
Perhaps you should work on the soundbite.
Yes, agreed.
well, I'm guessing that Governor Cox's interviews, the governor of Utah, after the Charlie Kirk shooting, where he really went after smartphones and the dopamine hits that it offers young people and other people, and takes up their time and captures their imagination for the worse, may have something to do with their analysis of this and having this on their legislative agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And there probably is something here that can be done, but in the hypothetical that Eleni just raised, if you ban the cell phones and your child is in a God forbid situation, but the phones are banned because they're in a lockbox or something at the principal's office, now they can't make that phone call to their parents. And I've thought that before. It's heartbreaking to hear you both, as parents of young children, to even talk about that and consider that. Far be it for me to speak on behalf of the governor. He would probably say that Illinois' laws are pretty tough on guns and assault weapons, and that's a national issue, a federal issue. But it seems like if he's running for a major federal office, top federal office, it may be something else that he considers as part of this package. We shall see what he rolls out. All of that is really pretty terrible. So maybe that's just a good segue for what else is terrible. Eleni, what else is terrible?
Honestly, this has been bad for me, and I have anxiety because we have so many people in our family, but Christmas shopping right
Oh,
now,
God.
it's not even Thanksgiving, but um like I'm trying every year. I'm like, we're not going to spend as much money. I'm gonna do research and get the best Black Friday
I
deals.
mean, Trump said inflation is gone
Yeah, like
and
where's that?
everything's
Where's that
fine.
$2,000
It'll be
check?
cheaper this year.
I'm supposed to be getting a $2,000 check according
There's your
to the
Christmas
last
present.
CNN, whatever NBC News story I watched. So hopefully I can use that to pay off some of these Christmas
Good
presents
plan.
because it's less about the cost. It's more about just figuring out what to get everybody is where I'm struggling significantly.
I have
So
a pro tip for you. Suggest that you just get gifts for the kids and the adults don't need gifts.
oh, we're already there. We're there, but we got so many kids in our world here that if you saw the list, you would. It's like it's like basically like the 41st ward here.
Greek family.
Right, and Irish. The Irish actually take up more than the Greeks do on our
Windex and soda bread, you're good.
end. Yeah. That's mine. I know it seems like I'm get premature on the
No,
Christmas, but it's really weighing on me this
it's
week.
time. It's come. It's here before you know it. Certainly.
Mhm.
I mean, if I was a pilgrim, I'd be really upset because we've gone right to commercials for Christmas gifts. Natalie, what's terrible
I
for
do
you?
feel bad for Thanksgiving. It's my favorite. It's
Yeah.
my Thanksgiving. I I will have to go to my second trip to Dave and Buster's this week tomorrow. The first round was just for a pickup, but just even walking in the doors of this place, like I had like a headache, almost fell into a coma. Like it was just so much input. And now I have to go. This is one of those parents come to the party thing, and
Ew.
our wonderful hosts selected Dave and Buster's. So I'm two for this week. I'm gonna get
Parents
some points on
come
my
to
card.
parents come to the party. That's one way to really alienate yourself from the other parents.
Yeah, just do a drop off, guys. Drop off.
Maybe you should introduce to the kids parties at Top Golf
Mm.
In Naperville.
In Naperville only.
for sure in Naperville.
Right.
So I have something terrible that really kind of borders on okay boomer, even though I'm just on the other side of boomer. Uh, Dictionary.com has crowned its top word of the year a set of numbers 6 7.
Oh, no, dude, what torture is this right now? I thought
What
we were
in
going
the
to
heck is
talk
6
about
7?
something terrible.
I can answer.
That's what I'm talking about. And it sounds terrible. And I can wait because I don't, no one seems to know what 6 7 is.
That's
No one knows.
TLDR, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. I've had
Literally nothing.
extensive debates with my children about this, and it's constantly 6 7, 6
Yeah,
7.
it's
There were
listening too.
Halloween costumes. There was a dad wearing, those big shiny balloons, 6 7. Pretty good,
Well,
actually.
there was
It means
a
nothing. It's
there
just intended to drive us all nuts.
there was like a campaign going saying that all the parents, because we thought about it, to dress up as 6 7, that then the kids would be like, ew, the parents are dressing up as this, like it's over, to try to kill the 6 7 campaign. But no,
Hasn't happened.
I saw a good meme that was like, our 6 7 was like star 6 7 on your landline, which would block your number to call people. It's the OG 6 7, you know?
Thanksgiving is going to die out before 6 7 does.
For example, we're doing math homework now in our house. I'm horrible at math, like so bad. And so we were doing an equation, some simple addition, right? And it was like 2 plus 5 is 7, or 3 plus 5 is 8. And then underneath, MJ wrote 6 plus 7 equals 13. Just you wanted to write 6 7.
Wonder where she gets that attitude.
I don't know.
I I used to work. I'm probably OOG when it comes to 6-7. I used to work at All News 67 with one of my friends the other day. Okay, well, if it's 6-7, it's Frenemies of the People by Culleton Bauer Luce, and
Right.
that's all we've got. Producer Grace is our producer. She's going to try to make some sense of all of this nonsense, and we shall see you next time.